Good evening, everyone. Hope everyone is doing fine. I see some friends here smiling away. Please remember to unmute yourself. My name is Julius. I'm president of Arlington branch NAACP, and welcome to our April 2022 general membership meeting, which we always open to the public. Everyone who registered, I think around 6:15, a copy of the agenda along with some of the relative documents were shared. So you should have that in advance. Throughout this meeting, we will share the documents again. So with that being said, we're going to open up with a word of prayer. Rosa Dunkley, please, if you can come off mute.
Dear Heavenly Father, we come to thank you for another day, God. God, we thank you, Father God, for the air that we breathe. Father God, we just come, Father God, into this meeting, Father God. Let everything be done decent and in order. Father God, bless all of the presidents and the vice presidents, God. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Thank you. We're going to call for a suspension of rule. Not going to do a roll call. That takes a while. We will do a roll call we can validate roll call on the backside now. We can actually tell who joined. So the secretary has that ability. We're going to hold off on that. I will call for a move to suspend the normal order of business. So I'll accept any motion to suspend the rules.
I move to suspend the normal order of business.
Second.
Properly moved and second that we suspend the normal order of business. All in favor say aye.
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 All opposed have the same right. Ayes have it, motion carried. Thank you. Roy, thank you, Sister Dunkley, as well for that wonderful prayer. And while we're at it, I will say, just for everyone on the call, our chair of special events, Mr. Marvin Nails, I would just say, please keep him in prayer. He's going through a few things right now, health-wise. We spoke over the weekend, so those of you, please keep him and his family lifted in prayer, okay? Mr. Roy Austin. We're going to see if we can get someone has music in the background. Please mute yourselves. Thank you. We're going to go with the financial report, Roy. Now, this financial report has not been approved yet by the executive committee because we won't meet until next week, but we will go ahead and share what you have with the general membership. All right, Roy.
Okay. The financial report, the monthly financial report for March 2022. In our savings account, the beginning balance was $161,841.39. We had deposits totaling $205,000. $5,000 of that was forwarded to our checking account. The ending balance for our savings account, $361,841.39. In our checking account, the beginning balance was $21,108.69. Deposits totaled $5,655.30. Withdrawals, $3,320.03. Ending balance, $23,443.96. The total for both accounts for the month of March 2022, $385,285.35. That is the report.
Okay. We're not going to take a motion on that because it needs to go before the executive committee, but thank you, Mr. Treasurer, for providing that report. Okay. All right, moving along with the agenda. So this now brings me to a time for a few remarks, and we're going to try to be on time here tonight, y'all. A lot ahead of schedule. So in my remarks, I'll start off by saying there's a few things. With Mr. Marvin Nails being out as our special events Freedom Fund banquet kind of coordinator for the short term, more information to follow, but keep in mind, the executive committee will be working on having a Freedom Fund banquet this year. Now, whether that's going to be in person or hybrid, that's to be determined and dependent upon the executive committee. What I would also ask, if you have an idea of guest speakers or anyone you think the NAACP will benefit from having at our event, that you submit those names to our branch so those names can be shared with our executive committee. Okay, we have time to do that. We're typically around October timeframe. We have our banquet. So again, Mr. Nels usually was going to run that for us this year. We've had some maybe going to be some delay there, but we'll find someone. I'll probably do my part helping out as president. But if you want to volunteer and serve on the Freedom Fund Banquet Committee, please submit your name to our secretary as well, so that can be shared with our executive committee. Again, we'll be looking for names of individuals who will serve as guest speakers. So if you're a member of this branch, please submit that to us. Also, another good note, our scholarship committee at our next meeting will be presenting to you, I believe, the names of our 2022 scholars. They've been hard at work, looking at the applications, reviewing applications. We had groups of members who have served as readers. So a great group of applicants, I believe. The number is not where it needs to be, I think, since they need to be, but we got about 20 some odd applications this year. Last year, we received over 60. But be that as it may, they're all rock solid, I believe, and you'll be getting those recommendations next month, or selectees that the executive committee votes on later this month. With that being said, there's just a lot going on. Welcome back to many of you who are out on spring break. I know for many folks here in Arlington, it was a time to kind of get out and relax for a little bit. I did some of that, even though I don't have school-age children, but it served us well to get out. And I saw a lot of people, at least on Facebook, out there vacationing. Some were in Florida, some were abroad, and that's a good thing. NAACP is still here. We're fighting, and we're doing the best we can with what we have. I would also bring to your attention that this is an election year for the NAACP. So, for you to hold an elected office, that means your membership, for you to hold an elected office in the next term, which will begin January 1st, 2023, your membership would have had to been valid. You had to have been a member of this branch on 1 May. I think they extended it 1 month. It's typically April. So you have some time, I believe, and Madam Secretary, you have to check me on that, but typically it's 1 April that you have to have, your membership has to be valid. I say all that to say, if you are a member of this branch and you would like to be considered for a position in leadership, which is one of our 3 executive committee members, from the president, first vice, second vice, third vice, assistant secretary, assistant treasurer. Think about it, speak with members of the committee. It's a 2 years, 24 months. So if you want to do it, I don't hold anyone back. So yeah, think about it, and yeah, put your name in. As many of you know, I've been here at this branch working, I think, pretty hard for over a decade. This is my 4th year as president. My 4th year. I see you shaking your head, Rosa. And it's a lot of hours outside of normal work. It's a lot of commitment. We have a long way to go before this year is out. But I highly encourage, change is good. But when you get in this line of work, you have to be passionate about it. It's not about just coming over and having a title or being able to go to meetings. It's about really agitating and in doing the work to for our community, protect our and lift up our Black and brown citizens, and at the end of the day, everyone. So it's thanks, Ron. I'm not a rock star, but again, I would just say it's a lot of sacrifice to make to do this right. And even if you are in a position of leadership, doesn't necessarily mean you're going to get it right all the time. We're successful because we have a team of people who are all on the same accord from time to time. We have our disagreements, trust me, but we make things happen. And it's been a pleasure. So we're going to keep pushing because we have the summer, we have the fall, we have the winter, we have a lot of work to do. And with that being said, I'm a little ahead of schedule, but that's going to line us up for two of our guest speakers tonight. The first speaker, I actually had a chance to meet virtually a few weeks ago, Michael Fauntroy. He is, hope I got his name right. He's the Associate Professor of Policy and Government and the Founding Director of Race, Politics, and Policy Center at George Mason University. And I'll tell you, in the brief conversation that I had with him, I was amazed. His body of work is tremendous. There's a lot going on at GMU. We have the Innovation Campus coming on board. I was there for the groundbreaking ceremony a few weeks ago, representing not only the NAACP, but also we have a partner out with a company, LMI. And it's just, there's a lot going on. So, Tony Andrews, I think, is on the call as well. Thank you, Tony, for your relationship with the NAACP here in this region. But we're looking forward to finding ways that the NAACP and citizens in our community can work with GMU and possibly Michael and what he's doing. GMU is not going anywhere. So let's see how we can work together with it. So Mike, are you here? If so, just say something so we can get you up on Spotlight.
Good evening. Yes, I am here. Thank you very much for the kind words.
Let me find you there, Mike. Let me find you. Where you at? Mike? So many folks. Oh, here you go. All right, here you go. Yeah, gotcha. All right, cool. I have a bow tie tonight. I see it.
Yeah.
So, Mike, you have about, you saw the schedule. We're going to let you go till about 7:30. I mean, this is your initial presentation here to us. I knew, we can come back and do some one-on-one, maybe with our criminal justice education committee, but this is like introducing you to our branch of the NAACP, and about the NAACP. We've talked, but this is your time to kind of present to us. And again, we thank you for being with us this evening. So, ladies and gentlemen, friends of the NAACP, I present to you Dr. Michael Fauntroy. Mike?
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. Thank you all very much for giving me a few minutes. Before we go any further, I'd like to request share screen, a couple of slides I'd like to show as I go through what I want to talk about here, if that is possible.
You should be good.
Okay, let's see here. Oh, there we go. Great, thank you. So as JD mentioned, I am the new director of the Race, Politics, and Policy Center at George Mason University. And what we are trying to build, and we started this in November 1st, what we're trying to build is a full service research and events center that consistently engages in items that improve our public discourse. In my view, we have too many people making policy and talking about policy that don't actually know what they're talking about. And the great example that I use these days is critical race theory. I think as many of you all would probably know, many of the people who are saying we can't have critical race theory probably can't tell you what critical race theory is. And so we are building a center that is sort of rooted in academics and scholarship, but has a sensibility toward a broader public discourse, which is one of the reasons why I was so happy through Tony Andrews to be connected with J.D. Spain. And so We are engaging, we're building up, we're ramping up, trying to do a number of things. And so if you don't mind, I'm just going to take about 10 minutes more to talk a little bit about what it is that we're doing. And I'm happy at the end of that to take any questions that you may have. So by way of introduction, I've been sort of focused on these issues for many, many years. I am born and raised in Washington, D.C. I'm a fourth generation Washingtonian. I come from a family that's been very much focused on civil rights, justice, freedom, and so on for many years. And I've been raised in that environment and certainly have made it a big part of my life's work to advance some of the same goals that the NAACP is interested in. And so I've taught at GMU and at Howard. I joined the faculty at GMU this past August, and it's actually my second stint there, sandwiched around a stint for 8 years on the faculty in the political science department at Howard University. My primary areas of research and teaching include African-American politics and the presidency. And, you know, I do a fair bit of television, radio, online, and other sort of broadcasting and broadly described sort of public intellectual work, trying to explain and get people to think about some of the things that are going on in our world. And I, again, come out of a research background. At the U.S. Commission on Civil Rights, I did research on voting rights and education policy. And at the Congressional Research Service, I worked on a research staff providing research and consultation to members and committees of Congress on small business issues, District of Columbia issues, and also federalism questions. Hampton and Howard, I often get questions from people about graduating from both of those schools, and people always ask me, so which one is the real HU? And I sort of sidestepped that one by saying, you know, you're asking me to choose between my two kids, and I'm not going to do that. So that's a bit about me. And so I just want to go back to the center. As you can see here, we have a broad goal. We want to become a major center, not just at the university, but more broadly, that helps to bring the community in the university together with the community outside the university to deal with and learn about and engage in dialogue around many of these questions at the intersection of race, politics, and public policy. I think if we can do that well, we can build an ecosystem that will be mutually beneficial for everyone. The public at large, so to speak, which is maybe looking for some more information that you might not be able to get from traditional media sources. And I want our students and our university community to be more closely engaged with organizations like the NAACP that's doing work on the ground to try to marry the theory that we teach in the classroom with the practice as it occurs in our communities at our grassroots. So my goal is that we become the biggest center of its kind in the country. And there are a number of these kinds of centers on campuses. Some of them do a pretty good job, but we want to aspire to be the best in the world and create a new generation of scholars who can go out and teach the ways in which race, politics, and policy intersect. We are operating in two different broad streams. One is event-based, and you can see the projects that we're doing here. We want to get involved in a variety of things that you can sort of see for yourself. But I want to focus on two things. First is sort of research. Public officials and organizational leaders, be they presidents or other executive committee members, or those who are working in organizations, are looking for reliable information to help them understand and explain issues. And so that's one of the things that we want to provide: digestible, fact-based information that can be utilized not just on campus, but off campus. And then the other part of that is more event-based. We want to build community and bring people to campus to participate in our events, some of which you see there. And these are some of the events that we scheduled for this semester. Back in February, we had Professor Keisha Middlemass, who, if you don't know her, I'd encourage you to get to know her. She's one of the premier scholars in America that looks at the public policy, what created barriers to successful prisoner reentry. There are roughly, if I have it right, 65,000 men and women released from prisons in the United States every week. They have to go somewhere, and they often go into a life in which they have consistent food and housing insecurity and other rules that bar them from the kinds of opportunities that could helpfully keep them out of prison going forward. So anyway, she's a great scholar who we had in February to do a Zoom conversation, and it's archived on our website, which I'll give you the address to a little later. And then Tony Affine from Providence College was scheduled to join us to do a talk on Latino politics. We ended up having to reschedule that for the fall, and we're working on a date to make that happen. But as you all know, our world is multifaceted, includes people from a variety of backgrounds. And while we're all trying to meet the needs of our individual communities, we also have to do that in a much broader ecosystem in which we are working with, and in some cases competing with, other groups of citizens. And so Tony is going to come in and give us a talk on that. The big event we had this semester was just last week. We had Cornel West on campus. I interviewed him for, we had a 2-hour event last Thursday. That event is available to view if you didn't have an opportunity to be there in person. A little later, after I'm done here, I'll put the address in the chat so you can watch it for yourself. It was a very interesting conversation with Dr. West. We spent a lot of time on critical race theory, and he brought up a great point about the difference between schooling and education. You can go to school and be badly miseducated if you're not sort of focused in terms of critical thinking and the like. And so this is the kind of event operations that we're interested in doing. And as I spoke with JD a couple of weeks ago, we want to involve the NAACP in some of these events too, as not just audience participants, but also on the stage. So we need your help. We're looking for as much support as possible in the Northern Virginia community to spread the word that we exist, that we're doing this work. Our website is rppc.schar.gmu.edu. And you can learn a little more about what we have done in this short time and what we're planning to do going forward. And again, more ways in which you can get involved. You'll see a number 3 there for GMU students. You should know that while we are based at George Mason University and are largely focused on George Mason University students, there may well be some circumstances where Arlington County High School students can come work with us on different projects. And so then lastly, I want to call your attention to number 5 for civil rights and social justice organizations. You're welcome to join our events, and we hope that you will. And we're looking to build a mutually beneficial relationship, one that we think will provide some utility for everyone who's interested in this kind of work. So that's my contact information there, fauntroy@gmu.edu, FAUNTROY@gmu.edu. And again, our website. And I am happy to answer questions you may have now or later. So shoot me an email if you wish. And thank you all very much for your time. And then just a moment or so, I'm going to put the Cornel West talk in our chat. Thank you very much.
Mike, don't go anywhere. Just come off of we have a few minutes, and thank you for your presentation. I'm sure we're going to have a few questions here from our members, since you ended quite early, and that's fine. But again, there's enormous potential here with GMAU and what you have going on. I wish I could have made the event with Dr. Cornell West, because I heard it was phenomenal. But I will check out the video. We did ask for questions in advance, and maybe you can answer this. As far as funding in your program, where does your funding come from? How do you get funded for your programs? There was a question that came in about that. So can you talk a little bit about how you're funded?
Yes. So I came back to Mason in part because I wanted to launch a research center. And in my negotiations with the university to return, we came to an agreement on some initial startup funds. So right at this point, we're fully funded by the university. That will end at some point down the line. And so I have to supplement that. And I'm looking to do that with foundation support, individual donors, and partnering rather with organizations.
Okay, great. You have a list of your donors that come in? Someone asked about that.
Right. We don't have any individual donors right now other than the university. But I think there are, and I'm not entirely sure about this, but I think there are university requirements about disclosures, and those are publicly available documents. So at such time that we begin to get those donations, they will be, that information will be publicly available.
Okay, great. Thank you. All right, I'm going to open it up since we're a little ahead of time. We're ahead of time here. Are there any questions from our attendees tonight? If there's any questions, feel free to come off mute, and I'm sure Mike can answer the question for you. Any questions?
I have a question.
Who is that?
It's Sharice Kearns,
Okay.
Second Vice President.
Okay.
Hi, everybody. Professor Fauntroy, can you tell us a little bit about your connection to DC's Walter Fauntroy? Are you related? Is he one of your family members?
Yes. Hold on a second. Let me pull out my props. You can't see this. I wouldn't expect you all to be able to see this very well, but yes, he is my uncle. This picture was taken at the White House in 1966. That's Lyndon Johnson, my aunt, my Uncle Walter, my Uncle William T. Fauntroy Jr., who, by the way, is the second youngest documented original Tuskegee Airman. He just turned 96 last month. That's my father. My mother wasn't there because she was home with me. I was in her belly at the time. So yes, he's my uncle.
Yeah, those of us who are from the DC area definitely look at that and look at you and say, okay, he has to be
yeah, my name isn't
part
Jones.
of that illustrious family.
People can, yeah, my name isn't Jones, so people can put that together. Thank you for noticing.
All right. Thanks, Sheree. Any other additional questions for Mike?
Yes, I'm sorry. My name is Philip Wilkerson.
Who are you?
Philip Wilkerson.
Okay.
Hi, my name is Philip Wilkerson. I work at George Mason Career Services. I'm also a member of Theta Rho Lambda, which is the Alpha Phi Alpha chapter here in the Arlington area, as well as the faculty advisor for Iota Alpha, the chapter at Mason. And so I was really happy to meet you. Should have probably been connected a long time ago. My question is, what is the intersection of your center and then I can't remember, isn't the Jimmy Carter that's under Dr. Charles Jarvis? Do y'all work together? Do y'all collaborate together? Is there any intersection between your departments?
So the Carter School, as you know, is in Arlington, literally right across the parking lot from where we are on Fairfax Drive. I don't know exactly what's going on over there. Again, I just arrived on campus and sort of hit the ground running, trying to get my own center in place. I do know a faculty member over there, and we have begun to talk about some ways in which we can collaborate. And so I'm assuming it's just a matter of time before that happens. And if there's a way for us to work together, I'm certainly willing to do it.
Philip, did that answer? You good? Did you hear that?
And then I have a selfish follow-up question. My selfish follow-up question is, I am starting a PhD program at Mason in the fall, a PhD in communication. Do you think there's like an offering? Because I think one of the things I'm thinking about is researching specifically communication toward the Black diaspora. Do you think there's some intersection where people from other programs can take courses in your program?
I don't know enough about the details on that particular program and if it allows for you to take electives outside of the department that you're going into. If it does, then certainly some of the courses I offer could be useful in that regard. I'm teaching a voting rights policy course in the fall and an African American politics course in the spring to graduate students. And so there's certainly something there that could be helpful to you.
JD, can I ask one question?
Who is that?
Ron.
Yeah, of course, Ron. Yeah, go ahead.
Actually, I'm intrigued about on the wall behind the gentleman gave his presentation. Are those collectibles? I'm a big Miles Davis fan, so are the autograph? After knowing who you're related to, they have to be something special.
I wish I could claim there was something special. I just had some album covers put in frames. That's all it is.
Okay, they're very cool. I like Miles Davis, and the book you should check out is the Milestones. You know that book, Autobiography of Miles Davis?
Yes, I have.
Yeah.
So let me just add. Now, some of you, if you're of a certain age, you'll remember the delight you may have gotten when a new album got in your hands and the artwork that went into it and all of that. You know, our digital music world sort of doesn't allow for that in the same way. And this was a way for me to kind of memorialize some of that. And, you know, that's artistic stuff. And so I got it in frame.
Very cool pictures.
Thank you, Ron. Thank you, Ron, for that question. And Mike, I know we're gonna go. Cherise, your hand raised again.
I do. I have one more question, and this one is not a softball. This is one that has to do with education, our public school education here in the state, and some of the changes that are in the process of being made in terms of trying to reduce accessibility to history and attempting to close down very specific discussions. And Professor, I wanted to get in the couple of minutes that you have left, your take on those policies that are now coming out of the Youngkin administration and how you think those may impact Black children or children writ large.
Right. So thank you for the question. Let me first, before I talk about Virginia, talk about sort of what's going on in Florida. I don't know if you all heard today, or maybe it was yesterday, there's some reporting coming out that the State Board of Education has banned dozens of math books because they claim, among other things, that the math books teach critical race theory. It's hard to not see that as really dangerous, right? In my view, and now I want to bring it back to Virginia, and this applies to everybody, all the states that are doing this, including Virginia. In my view, this is a way to prevent the teaching of certain truths in American history. And those truths aren't just about race, in my view. So we're going to wake up one day and there's even a more degraded and irrational understanding of slavery and its impacts, Reconstruction, Jim Crow, segregation, so on and so forth. But there's also going to be even less understanding of other topics that are already badly taught. The Trail of Tears, Japanese internment, you know, and on and on and on. And while the target is critical race theory, which, by the way, is a legal construct that's been around for more than 40 years, that says that many of the problems that we have are sort of settled in our legal structure and need to be addressed and need to be, you know, spoken to honestly about that. So if we can't have conversations about what's true, then that means that what's false is going to prevail. And so I'm deeply worried about it. I hope that groups like the NAACP continue to push back against it, back at the local level and at the statewide level. There are members of the legislature that want to work with groups such as yours, and I hope you'll connect with them to help give them the space and the backbone and the support they need to move forward in that regard. So anyway, that's it, quick and dirty. We're at the end of my time, so I know we have to.
Thank you, Mike, and we'll have you back. But this has been a great intro to not only what you do before our members here, and that where the opportunities may lie to be involved not only with NAACP but also at GMU. So there's events going on. I know Tony will share with us, and we'll keep these lines of communication open because I believe wholeheartedly, given what's going on right now with us in Florida, Virginia, Arlington, we need to work together and we'll make that happen. So thank you again for your attendance, Mike, and you please feel free to stick around because we have someone, have your brother coming up here soon, Dr. Jason Ottley, okay? Thank you.
I'd love to stay. I gotta run. I got a parking stairs I gotta deal with. But thank you all very, very much for your time. I appreciate it. And I'm looking forward to connecting again soon. Thank you.
Hey, Mike, real quick before you leave, I
Yeah.
just want you to know you have one of the Freedom Riders, Joan Muhammad, who's joining us today. I think she's ironing. Hi, Joan. From you probably heard her name. Joan is here. Thank you for being with us tonight. Again, thanks, Mike, and we'll chat with you soon.
All right, y'all be good. Thank you.
Bye. Also with us tonight, I just want to make sure I get this out of the way during the transition. We have a few elected members who have joined us tonight. Let me remove this spotlight. So I think I saw the Commonwealth Attorney here. Thank you. Yeah, thank you, Parissa. I think we saw Senator Favola. Thank you. Who am I missing? Anyone else? Okay, I think we're good. We're going to be on time here tonight. And again, such a great attendance. As I look down, 91 individuals decided to take time out of their Monday night post school spring break. And it's a pleasure to have you with us. So for the next, let me see what we have from 7:35 to around 7:40, the next 20 minutes or so. We have Dr. Jason Ott. Let me get you here, Jason. I think I see you. Let me spotlight you for everybody. Secretary had reached out to me a little earlier. Jason was like, I don't know if Jason's coming because he ain't registered yet. I say, Jason better show up here tonight. Nah, it's all good. As many of you know, Jason took over as the head of diversity, equity, all things included there at APS about 6 months ago. Jason's also been working in the community with many stakeholders to include the NAACP and our education committee. So we've been talking for a while, and thought it was important for Jason to come in and just give us an update about what he's been able to accomplish and what they're working on at APS. Jason, I will tell you in advance, we got a whole bunch of questions for you that got submitted on our portal. I don't think you're gonna be able to get through these tonight, but it's a whole bunch of them. But anyway, Jason, thank you for being here with us. Thank you for wearing that t-shirt, Black Colleges Matter, HBCUs, that's what we're talking about. So without further ado, I'm gonna turn it over to you for your presentation, conversation with us, all right?
I appreciate it, JD.
All right,
good evening, everybody. Great to see you all, those in the chat. I see some of my fraternity brothers, Ice Cold fraternity brothers in the chat. Great to see you all as well. It's just like a Capita run. I know that Dr. Fauntroy said he had other things to do, and I notice this cane in the background. But that's atypical of Kappas. Good to be in the house tonight. I do have just a short presentation that I want to kind of share with you all this evening. And then I do want to enlist some of the questions that JD said that you all have for me. It certainly has been a very good time to be in education, number one, but also an even better time to be in education because of all of the diversity, equity, inclusion conversations and controversies that we have been privy to if we're watching the news, reading the newspaper, or have these conversations at work. And it is probably reminiscent of some of the years that some of you all have experienced on the call tonight during the civil rights movement, the civil rights era. I was not part of the time, but in our real history books, the history books that tell everything, I am reminded that history repeats itself. And so here we are in 2022, and we are still battling and still traversing through some of the things that we have dealt with 50 years ago. Have things changed? Absolutely. Have things gotten better? Absolutely. But can there be room for much more? Yes, there can be. And so tonight, I just want to talk a little bit about one particular lens. I'm going to share my screen, JD, and if you can't see it, please let me know.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. So it's telling me that I've got to click the link. Let me try this again. Okay, let's see if it lets me share. Oh, there it is. Perfect. Let me know if you all can see my PowerPoint. Can you all
We
see
got it up. We got it up.
You can
Good.
see it?
Yep.
Okay. How's my sound?
Sound is great.
It's good, Dr. Ottley. We can hear you.
Okay. Thank you, Ms. Walker. Great to see you tonight in the room. All right. Let me get to slide intro. I was trying to play it slide by slide, but I'll just walk through it this way. This thought, this notion that DEI is a one size fits all. I've been doing this particular work on this journey in education over 20 years, specific to diversity, equity, inclusion. For the last 15 years, I've worked in this space before it was called DEI. It actually was multicultural education. And some of you probably remember those days. Some of you also remember the days of No Child Left Behind and how that policy did not help Black and Brown students as it was supposed to. So I've been in the trenches with this work for quite some time. And one of the themes that comes out of this work that I've found is DEI is not a one size fits all. I've worked with 14 different school districts over the last 8 years, some large, some small, some rural, and some urban and suburban. And one of the themes that I found is there has been this attempt to provide services or trainings or workshops around the same things for all schools. Every school wants to do a cultural competency training, implicit bias training. Are those trainings important? Absolutely. But unless we know what the data says for that particular school district, then we really don't know if we're really moving the needle or not. We really don't know how much progress that we're making. So I really wanted to kind of highlight this picture in the beginning of this short conversation with you all tonight to really remind for some, and then also share with others, that there is not a one size fits all to diversity, equity, and inclusion. It is very intuitive of what the county and the school district, the makeup, the demographic, some of the patterns, some of the cultural hierarchies and traditions and norms. Those things are so important to know first before developing professional learning sessions or workshops that will help to move the needle. I pulled some of the information a couple of weeks ago from the Northern Virginia region dashboard, and I'm pulling this information to tell a story. There's several stories that I'd love to share. JD, I don't have enough time to share all the stories that are in my head, but I'll just share this one particular snapshot, and hopefully this will generate some discussion tonight. Northern Virginia localities are home to some of the most highly educated residents in the nation. Now, maybe you knew this already because many of you are Arlingtonians or many of you are from Northern Virginia. I'm a DC kid, Washingtonian. I grew up in the early 80s when DC was the murder capital of the world. So we did not go to Northern Virginia really much for anything. And so we knew then, even as kids, that Virginia is where the money was. And Virginia also had the residents who were the most educated. So this hasn't really changed here as we look at this snapshot in 2019. The high education level of the region citizens creates this strong, flourishing community. Notice here, the statistic shows that the population age 25 or more holding a bachelor's or higher degree. Look at this, y'all, 60%, which is nearly double the United States overall. And I'm going somewhere with this story. A couple other slides shows that the educational attainment from a 2016-2020 snapshot. Notice where Arlington is. Arlington is ranked number 2 of all of the counties in the state of Virginia. In this next slide, you'll see comparatively to the United States, and then also the state of Virginia, Arlington is actually not number 2, but number 1 as it relates to educational attainment for districts that are 65,000 residents or more. When we look at the graduate or professional degree shared, and Dr. Fauntroy was on earlier representing one of our most esteemed institutions of higher education in Virginia, we see again, Arlington ranks number 1 when it comes to graduate or professional degrees shared for populations in the nation that are 65,000 or more. It ranks number 1 in Virginia, but it ranks in the top 20. Where in the top 20 does it rank in the US? It's in the top 10. So Arlington, Virginia has a really, really cream of the crop when it comes to residents who are highly educated. I share this story before I go in to talk about some of the work that I'm doing in the office to really paint this picture that if we have one of the most educated states and educated counties in the nation, and we still struggle in areas of disproportionality and achievement opportunities and achievement gaps for students of color, why is that? Now, I know you probably wrote that down on one of your questions to ask me tonight, but this is one of the most educated groups that I probably had a chance to work with over the last 8 years. So that's the question that I want you to also reflect on and to think about. If we have the most educated individuals almost in the nation, why do we still struggle, right? The focus has largely been on what is the school doing? But my pushback has always been to families and also to the community. How is the community and how is the families also supporting the struggles that our students face each and every day? This is one office. I'm an office of 5. There are 28,000 students in Arlington, Virginia. There's no way an office of 1 with a team of 4 can fix all of the educational disparities that exist. This is a village approach. And we have one of the strongest approaches that I've seen education-wise in any school district. Some of the things that are coming out of my office, and with the 8-9 minutes that I have remaining before I want to take as many questions as I can from the group tonight, is the definition of educational equity. When I came to Arlington, this word was not defined. There was several different meetings as to what equity was and what educational equity is, and how lately we as a country and as a people have been weaponizing the word equity. And I wrote an article recently about this, and JD, I don't mind sharing it with you, and you can share it with the group tonight. But we have weaponized equity in order to get the things that we desire. There have countless meetings that I have been a part of since my time here at September 1st, 2021, where folks in a meeting are saying, this is inequitable. Where is the equity in this? And many times they weren't even talking about equity. They were conflating equality with equity. So that's one of the things that we have to do, is really to understand as a community how to actually use the terms to get what it is that we desire to get. Educational equity that I helped to define for the district when I came is the identification and implementation of these things: policies, practices, and procedures that lead to the just and fair distribution of resources based on the needs of individual students. Notice I said individual, not a group of students, the whole child left behind, that didn't help us, but individual students and individual school buildings. In order to guarantee that all students, families, and APS employees have the resources to succeed, this office provides counsel and structuring approaches to equity through these 4 areas. And I'm gonna pause parenthetically and highlight the word counsel. Traditionally, offices of diversity, equity, and inclusion across school districts have been created to provide counsel and insight in operations and insight in academics. That's what we do. When you look at DEI offices and centers in our corporate spaces, the layout framework or the organizational structure is largely different. Now, I've consulted with corporate spaces, so I know that to be true. I know that oftentimes in corporate spaces, there is more power and influence and accountability from the Office of Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion. But how we've created this in school systems is to provide structure operationally and academically. So here are the areas that I have provided some wise counsel just in the 6.5 months that I've been here. And a few of these pieces I'm going to also highlight that I'm working on currently as we move into school year 22-23. So some of the structural approaches you saw here, the 4 areas. Let me go back really quick. Governance is one, educational equity practices, workforce equity practices, and operational equity practices, right, are the 4 components of how we are looking to tie equity throughout all of our decisions, all of our beliefs, all of our systems, all of our practices, all of our hierarchies. So the first being governance of equity policy, implementation procedures. Those who have been on the NAACP membership longer than 2020 know that in August of 2020, APS passed the first equity policy A-30. When that was passed, the policy implementation procedures was supposed to follow, however, it didn't. And so one of the first assignments that I received when I got here on September 1st was to create the equity policy implementation procedures for that particular policy. Now, this has been a year-long approach because it had to go through 15 different advisory groups. The NAACP had a chance to review it, and it's gone through 14 other advisory groups, also some folks here in APS, our policy review team, our school board. And so this is going to be done in June of 2022, but it is a plan that identifies the actors or the names or the positions, the titles, if you will, the actions and the desired results that tie to the broad statement of goals, okay? So you're curious about what the equity policy looks like. It's equity policy A-30. That was adopted August 2020, well before I got here. What I've worked on this year is what are the governance for those particular broad statement of goals, okay? The second governance piece that's come out of this office that will be done in June is the equity dashboard. It's a public data dashboard that demonstrates APS's commitment to transparency and accountability to equitable results. And so this dashboard, this particular dashboard in June will highlight 2 areas, the student and staff demographics. So we're looking at the disaggregation of teachers and staff by race and by gender, right? One of the things that we know is the recruitment, hiring, and retention of staff of color, particularly Black staff here at APS, is dismal. And so to provide transparency and accountability is one of the reasons why we're going to highlight that. And this office is working very closely with human resources to look at what is our reach. If we're having a hard time in bringing in staff of color, particularly Black staff, Black teachers, and not just Black staff, because if you look at our food services and our janitorial services and our bus services, they're largely comprised of Black and brown staff, right? But why do our teachers not reflect what our students look like in the classroom? And why do our administrators not reflect the students that are in those classrooms as well? And so the intentional outreach in figuring out where those talent pools are, number one, but as I've seen in other school districts, the need, I'm wearing this sweatshirt tonight, the need to partner with HBCUs in pipelines, right? That's second. And then third, also the need for us to grow our own there are Black and brown students who are graduating from our high schools who are desirous of entering into education programs and colleges. And how I've seen it done in other school districts is the ability to pay for those students to attend an institution of higher education, to receive a degree and to come back to the county and teach. And the money they receive that covered their tuition, they owe a certain amount of years to the organization. That's growing your own. And I've seen that happen a few times. So that's one of the reasons why we want to highlight particular data like that, so we can also show how we're working on mitigating some of the areas of concern. The other area is educational approach to equity. And I won't read through all of these, but I'll just share the school-based equity teams existed in 6 to 8 of our 41 schools. And so my thought was, how do we provide school-based equity teams across all 41 schools? And so my office has redesigned what equity teams looks like across the entire division. And so one of the things with the task force that we have put together is we have done site visits, and we've looked at some of the things that other school districts have done related to equity teams, their success and their failures, where their blunders are, and how we don't have to recreate the wheel, but understand that there's a need for us to steep all of our decisions and our work in data. And so these equity teams that are school-based will have conversations around student engagement issues, allocation of resources, policies, procedural issues. Who's part of those teams? Administrators, teachers, you'll see staff, but look, students are part of that, and parents. There are recommendations after each year that are going to be made to the Office of Superintendent from 41 different schools. We won't see this happen until next year, so it's going through its redesign now. Another structural approach to equity is curriculum audits. Maybe some of you are familiar with this. I've done tons of these in other school districts, and it's looking at every content area as well as the electives every few years. And so this assessment is vertical and horizontal. So vertical being how a student navigates through a content area year to year. So having that student perspective, and then horizontal, how the curriculum is offered within grade level content areas per the instructor. And so there'll be one content area per year that will be evaluated. So this is a chance for us to see as a community, are there culturally relevant pedagogy that exists in all of our curriculum? And if they're not, this is the reason why we're doing this audit, okay? You'll see this commence in 2022, 2023. 2 more slides, JD, and then I'm gonna take questions. Operations, oh, sorry, let me go to workforce. I skipped one. Workforce, that's the other structural approach to equity. New employee orientation. There has been large discussion about teachers who are coming in new to the district, as well as teachers who are already here, not having gone through any culturally responsive teaching practices or orientations around diversity, equity, inclusion, or social and emotional skill building. And because I was a former teacher and worked my way through every position you can have in K-12, as well as higher education, I know working as a professor in higher education that many of teachers who are coming out of teacher ed programs have not had one diversity, equity, inclusion course in a teacher ed program. How is that possible that you don't have one DEI course, but you end up in a urban district like Arlington, right next to DC, and you're teaching students predominantly in your classroom of color? And so it is so important and incumbent that we have these types of professional learning sessions for new teachers who are coming into the district, recognizing that they may not have had any DEI exposure in their teacher ed program, but also ongoing training and professional learning. And this is where you see in part 2 of this, professional learning for all APS employees. And so what does that professional learning look like? Well, largely because we've got over 4,500 teachers, there's no way we can do one-to-one training in 1 year, but provide opportunities for teachers to dive in a cohort style, and then also one-to-one style, putting together videos. Now, my office, I've reimagined and created DEI specialist positions, and part of their job is to do professional learning across the district. Well, professional learning is going to be largely done virtually because we'll have just a couple of individuals to do this, but we're going to be working fastidiously all summer to create professional learning video modules that are done right here in-house. We're not going outsourcing, trying to figure out who has the latest and greatest and spending tens of thousands of dollars, but we're creating those in-house to provide opportunities for our teachers. The other thing that's happening this summer, August 23rd and August 24th, I've created a DEI summer conference. The first day, the 23rd, will be for elementary teachers. The 24th will be for high school teachers, and they'll have a chance to have DEI sessions throughout the entire day. So those are some of the new things that we're doing. And lastly, operations. This is something that's going to be occurring this summer and then early fall. The operational equity needs assessment. We're working very closely with our Chief Operating Officer, Dr. John Mayo, and providing a needs assessment for the district. So you heard about the curriculum audit earlier. That was just focused on academics. Now there needs to be this assessment that you will probably get some insight and information from our equity team, school-based, but then to bring in a third party to do an assessment to evaluate our auxiliary aids, accommodations for all students. And here are the areas that I have assessed in the past that I think these are super important to assess here in APS. Our facilities management, how we spend our money, our financial profile, transportation here in APS, our vendor relations, just to name a few. It was very interesting to me to see the number of, or the lack of, Black vendors who were part of APS when it came to things that we had to purchase, right? That's also part of equity. So when you think about equity, equity is not just what are we doing in the classroom, how prepared our teachers and our staff are. Equity also oversees these particular areas here: recruitment, hiring, retention, student transition, staffing, accessibility, indoor air quality. I was just in a meeting 2 weeks ago about that with our sustainability committee. So me sharing all this tonight, I hope that you were able to see that the work of this office doesn't just focus in academics, but JD, as you and I have talked before, its insight and hopefully one day its oversight will be across the entire division, all the way from operations through academics, through community and family engagement. So thank you for the last 17 minutes. If y'all got questions, I'm ready.
Hey, so we have someone right behind you, but what I'm gonna do, Jason, we lost your video. You can just stop sharing there. I'm gonna drop in the chat real quick, and you can go ahead, and that way everyone has this. These were questions that were filled out, that came in, I should say, from people who registered. Let me see here. But while I'm doing this, we received about 9 questions. A lot of this you've already touched on, but I know this is a topic that's come up recently. Can you share with us in the next 2 minutes or so, what is APS doing? Just your evaluation on restorative justice and education. What is the outlook? And just talk to the community here about what we can expect, partnership and restorative justice. How does that look all around?
Yeah, I saw Kamiko on the line. Kamiko, good to see you. I know that she works very closely with that particular work. And so I think that restorative justice is what I've seen in APS, JD. There have been a few folks here that actually are certified here in the county, but they have done most of that work largely in their schools. There has not been this approach to the entire district or the entire division. And that's what's needed, right? So now, JD, you're talking about putting a system in place. And I think that's one of the things that we lack in APS. We lack systems that can really help us to move the needle faster. We have systems, we need new systems or better systems to really move the work much quicker. So I think that to your point about restorative justice, restorative practices, it needs to be a holistic approach. We just can't have a few teachers who are in schools and certified to do that and do it well in those schools and not have that across all 41 schools. I think there has been a need for funding for that. That's certainly not free. And we don't have enough staff members who are certified to do it full time, because it's a full-time job. You can't pull a teacher and have them half the day try to run restorative circles in a school it's more than that. It's a full-time job. So I think that once monies is allocated and set aside for restorative justice, I think then we need to really look at a system in place that really holds us accountable to making sure that our disciplinary problems that we have here in Arlington, especially disproportionate numbers. We see most of our SPED students and most of our Black and Brown students are disciplined at higher numbers than other students. How do we see that number come down? I think it's really the reentry and all the principles that restorative justice preaches.
Hey, real quick, I'm gonna squeeze out 2 more questions, and this is gonna come from, okay, Tia and Adam, make them brief, and then we're gonna have to go to our next presenter. So Tia, just briefly your question, and then Adam.
Yeah, absolutely. So I actually joined the NAACP Arlington branch because I'm an Arlington teacher, in particular, virtual learning program teacher, where it was recently just paused by the superintendent and disproportionately affects students that are special education, Black and Brown students. As an African-American teacher myself, I'm really passionate about those students not being heard. And so they have decided that they were going to pause the program, but there are no updates as far as what's going to happen to those students, particularly my students that are now being forced back into the school building that never felt like they had a voice, never felt like they had someone that looked like them in the classroom. There was a immense amount of African-American teachers that were part of the virtual learning program that are now being dispersed, and their voices are not being heard. And there are no plans for the future. They said that they were going to put together a task force, in particular a DEI department, which is why I wanted to get involved in that. But there has not been anything since. And a lot of people feel as though they're not being heard. So that was.
Thanks, Tia. Let's see if we can roll 2 questions into one. Adam, go ahead, and then we'll see if Dr. Ottley can answer both. Just make it briefly, Adam. Brief, Adam.
Sure. So I've known of many organizations that try to do a DEI program based on textbooks or prepackaged corporate type of efforts, and they often don't work well. So it's good to hear that APS is working on the video packages that you mentioned earlier in-house and not trying to do something provided by some company that doesn't know what's going on in Arlington. But the downside is often in-house productions can be kind of expensive or risk recreating a wheel that's already out there. How do you balance those two things?
Thanks for those questions. So Jason, those 2, and then we'll move on. Thank you, Jason.
Sure, and I want to just address Tia's question first.
Yeah.
Tia, the way you ended your statement or your question, it sounded like you mentioned DEI in relationship to the task force. And I just wanted to make sure that I understood what you were asking.
So we were told that they would allow for the Department of Diversity and Inclusion to be a part of the task force, since it includes so many students of color and so many students from different backgrounds and ethnicities and environments, but the task force has not been created. And this task force was supposed to help bring back the VLP program where these students are in high numbers, but there hasn't been anything. So I was just curious to see if anything has been done or if they're in the works of that.
Oh, okay, I'm understanding. Thanks, Tia, for your question. Yes, they're in the works. That's coming out of the Office of School Support, as well as the Office of Academics. They're putting together a task force for VLP. And so DEI will sit on that task force, but there has not been a set date, Tia, as to when that will commence.
Okay.
Adam, your question about in-house production and not recreating the wheel, I think you answered actually part of your question when you said that most of these third parties don't understand the plights of Arlington. And so that's the reason for the in-house production, if you will. The cost compared to bringing a third party in is minimal. It's minuscule. But one of the things that we're doing out of my office is understanding what the professional learning needs are of our staff members. And we do that by collecting data. Too many of these external third-party organizations, they never collect data. They just go into an organization, they recreate 5 to 7 different professional learning sessions that have worked well in other counties, right? And then they give you an evaluation at the end. What we're doing here in Arlington is we're actually taking inventory as to what professional learning sessions are needed. And one way we do that is understanding what are the things that our staff have already experienced. Some of them have gone through deep equity. Some of them have gone through courageous conversations. Some of them have gone through Joe Feldman's book, Grading for Equity. And so when I look at some of the exposure that Arlington has, it's much higher than some of the exposure I've seen in other counties. So to bring them a professional learning series that is somewhat watered down is really not the answer. We need to really meet teachers and administrators where they are. And the only way to do that is to collect data on the front end, which we're doing this summer. And we're going to roll out this professional learning series in the fall.
Jason, thank you very much. These questions I did share with everyone in the chat that came in on our Zoom link. What I'll do is we'll get those over to you, and then you can send them back to us through our education committee or something. And just so we'll get them back to the individuals that at least asked questions. I know you couldn't get it all done tonight, but really appreciate you coming out. First 6 months, know you have a long way to go. We'll stay in contact with you, and if you need anything, you know how to reach us, right?
Yeah, no, it's been a pleasure, JD. I do hope that I get a chance to come back and be part of the group. This next time I'll come and listen. You guys kill me.
Please do. All right, enjoy the rest of your evening, Jason. Thanks for being with us.
Thanks, Dr. Ottley.
All right, thank you.
Okay, next we have Arlington County Vision Zero. Who's here representing Vision Zero tonight?
Hi, I'm Christine Baker with Arlington.
Great. Hey, oh, there you are. All right, good. Let me get you spotlighted here. Is your team with you, or you're the only one here tonight?
It's just me tonight, so thanks for having me.
Yeah, so thanks for reaching out to us about a month ago, and we all met to talk about Arlington County Vision Zero. Many folks don't, we would love to get a copy of that slide, by the way, so we can share with all the attendees tonight. But we're a little bit behind schedule, but we're gonna go all in and let you get started, okay, Christine?
All right. Can you see the presentation, or do you see anything weird?
Yes, we can see it.
Okay, awesome. So thank you so much for having me tonight. I'm here from Arlington County, and I'm here to talk about transportation safety. So, we'll go through quickly what Vision Zero is, what our safety action plan looks like, and then we'll dive into the equity analysis that we've done around transportation safety, and end up, wanting to learn a little bit more about your experiences. So Vision Zero is a kind of where public safety meets transportation safety. And we are focused on reducing traffic crashes, especially severe and fatal crashes. And so this concept originated in Sweden in the 1990s. And it was just a unique and nuanced way of looking at safety, because traditionally, transportation professionals look at transportation safety and think, traffic deaths just happen, it's inevitable. We rely on people to act perfectly 100% of the time. We think about preventing traffic crashes and think that it's tied to these large, very expensive infrastructure improvements. And then this Vision Zero approach takes a different view, where we think, well, traffic deaths are actually preventable. And in fact, they shouldn't happen at all. And human failing is part of the approach. So if we can design a system that is more lenient to human failing, to human error, and kind of reduces the, if we make a system that makes it, more intuitive, easier for people to use, we can reduce crashes. And we're really focused on preventing those fatal and severe crashes that can really drastically alter somebody's life. And this is through a systems-based approach too. So we are focused on using data-driven techniques to be able to understand what our biggest challenges are, and then proactively address safety through that approach. So we're really trying to let the data drive, and that brings equity into the story, because Traditionally, we hear about safety issues, we respond, but we don't always hear from the same people, especially not some areas or populations that may be, disproportionately affected by traffic crashes, because data, especially at the national level, shows that people of different ages, races, ethnicities, and abilities, can be disproportionately affected by traffic crashes. So when we take a safe systems approach, look at systemic safety issues, we can really make a difference for everybody and make sure that the system's safe for all people of ages and abilities. And then also, we're not saying we need to spend tons of money on different infrastructure. We can do temporary based things. We can do pilot projects. We can get stuff on the ground quickly to improve safety without having to spend a ton of money or, wait many years before something is, actually built in the ground to improve safety. So this approach really, caught traction. Places throughout the entire world have adopted Vision Zero, and you can see about 60 places within the US have adopted Vision Zero, including Arlington. So in 2019, the county board adopted a resolution committing to Vision Zero. And then in May 2021, we adopted a 5-year action plan. And so that action plan looked specifically at, what are our specific needs? What are our transportation goals? We helped work with the community to identify goals and then a list of action items to achieve them over time. So this is really a plan to track our progress, to report what we're doing to improve safety, and also just a way to collaborate across different departments, across the community, with different partners to enhance safety. And our target year is to get to 0 transportation related fatalities or serious injuries by 2030. And we see about 5 fatalities a year on average, and about 50 to 60 severe crashes that don't result in death, but a severe injury every year. So that's kind of our baseline, and we're trying to get everything down to 0. Our program goals are on this slide. We're hoping that our program is multimodal, encourage safe transportation no matter how people decide to get around, whether it's driving, biking, walking, scooting, motorcycling. We also, plan to put safety first on all projects, big or small. We want to be transparent and accountable. So really have our data out there, have all the things we're doing out there for people to see, comment on. And, we're a very, open door type program where, we accept feedback and want to make improvements constantly in our approach. It's a data-driven program. So as I mentioned, always working from the data angle to prioritize our safety needs, to be collaborative and equitable. So making sure that our safety investments are equitable across the community, and we really address, key problems primarily. So what does Vision Zero actually look like? You probably see it every day if you travel in Arlington. And here are some examples, just intersections that kind of better integrate pedestrians and bicycles. You've seen bus only lanes, or maybe some improved bus stops to help people access transit. It could look like complete streets where we've reallocated some of the road space to other users to enhance safety for people who are walking or biking or taking scooters or other things. It could also look like education programs, collaboration with service providers, crossing enhancements, speed control. We're really trying to work on the automated side of that. And then also like accessibility improvements, signage and warning. So this is just kind of helping to make it a little more tangible, since transportation safety can look different, especially because we're trying to do a lot of engagement, a lot of education. But you can see it every day on the streets, the little changes we're trying to make to improve safety. So looking at the action plan, it's a large set of different action items. And the one that I really want to highlight tonight is the equity analysis that we've engaged in so far. And that was really to look at, who is disproportionately affected by traffic crashes. What does our data say about who is involved in crashes, who may be not as engaged in the transportation safety process, and take our findings from that and start to rectify that, start to bring more balance into, who we're serving. So one piece of this was looking at hospital data, because we primarily work off police records, which have all sorts of information about every crash, but it doesn't include race and ethnicity. So we partnered with the Virginia Hospital's Trauma Center to get transportation-related injury records. And that allowed us to do a deep dive into the race and ethnicity of the people who are getting hurt on our transportation system. So it's not the full sample, but it's a small subset, which is actually pretty substantial, and has been really enlightening for us to learn a little bit more. And some of the key findings were that people identifying as Black or another race were disproportionately injured in vehicle crashes, and people identifying as Black were disproportionately involved in severe and very severe injury crashes. So I'll show that in a little more detail on the next couple slides. This area in red is just gives you a benchmark of what the population breakdown looks like in Arlington, as well as the Washington metropolitan region. We expect travelers in Arlington to be somewhere between those two demographics, because you're probably going to have more people traveling in Arlington from Arlington, people who live here, but also people throughout the region are traveling through and to and from Arlington every day. And then when you look at the crashes by mode and race, you can see 33% of that population, or 33% of the people involved in the motor vehicle crashes that resulted in injury were Black. And that really stood out. That's a very high number comparative to either of the regional or countywide stats. And also when we looked at comparatively the injury severity, you do see a higher percentage over here, the severe and very severe crashes, 24%, as well as the minor crashes. We saw was disproportionately high. So that really was a problem area for us. And we wanted to start to learn, okay, well, why is this happening? And how can we start to address this type of imbalance? And another thing that came up, we also looked at community reporting. So these are customer service requests that come into the county. And we wanted to see, who are we hearing from regularly about what their issues are in their neighborhood or where they're traveling or working. And we mapped service requests and looked at, how does that kind of look proportionally throughout the county? How are community requests balanced in relation to, our census demographics? And overall, we do see that community requests are typically concentrated in areas with higher population density, which is the green on the map. But we also did see that, when we looked at some of the areas that have been identified through our Transit Title VI program, which highlights Block groups with 38.5% or more Black, Indigenous, or people of color population, we did see fewer requests in those Block groups. So about 25% of Arlington's population live in those Block groups, but we only saw about 12% of comments falling in those, even areas where there is a high population density. So we really are wanting to engage more in these areas, because oftentimes we get complaints from areas that leads to action or some kind of addressing of safety problems there. So this is a important piece of the puzzle, because we want to be able to proactively address issues in neighborhoods, even if we're not hearing from people, because we understand, some people just may be more engaged or have more time to put in service requests. So all of that kind of shows the equity analysis that we've been doing to date. It's still a work in progress. We're learning more. We're trying to do more root cause analysis to understand more about some of the imbalances we see, especially in that hospital data, and we're looking at different information from different sources. So research from national sources, as well as we want to get down to the local level. So we are conducting focus groups, and we've done some pop-up events to learn more about individual experiences. And I'm here tonight because I wanted to share this information with this group, and also let you know that we're looking to host a just 1 hour focus group with Black members of the community. We want to learn more about individual experiences and challenges while getting around. So that can be no matter how you get around, walking, wheeling, biking, driving, taking transit, or just being a passenger. And we are going to take that feedback and incorporate it into our programming to be able to understand, what key issues are people experiencing and how can we get to the bottom of solving some of those issues. Either it be through education or engagement or engineering based or even policy based type work. So the date or time is still to be determined. Once we get a group of folks who are interested in joining the conversation, we will send out a scheduling poll to figure out a time and date that works best for the group. And then we'll go through a bunch of questions about transportation safety issues. And we just want it to be an open, candid conversation to learn more about what folks are really experiencing on the ground. So I put my contact information here, csbaker@arlingtonva.us. I've also put my phone number. So if you are interested in signing up, I would love to hear from folks by Friday. And I also saw that JD put a little.
Wasn't me.
Or yeah, someone in the.
Okay.
Was,
I got you.
Yeah, but if you signed up for the meeting, you might have indicated interest, which I greatly appreciate that as well. And so, get in touch however you prefer and let me know, if you're interested in participating, we'll get it set up. And if you can't find time for a focus group, I'm still very happy to have a conversation. So you can email me, call me, and we can discuss in more detail kind of what your thoughts are on safe transportation. And it's really just about getting perspective and individual experiences. And then last but not least, there is a link at the bottom of this slide to the service request portal if you're ever in need of reporting a safety issue, because we want to make sure that everybody knows how to get to that. So that was what all I had, and I appreciate the time.
Yeah, Christine, we did have two questions in here. We had two questions that actually came in advance. What we plan to do is that those names of individuals that offered to volunteer for the focus group, we would share their information with you because they said they would like to participate. So I think there was 100, almost 130 people registered. I saw on a list this afternoon a good number of individuals who said, yeah, they would like to participate. So there's two questions in the chat, but I want to ask one of the questions that came in on Zoom when they registered. The question was, how do you achieve your goal without increasing police encounters? Which studies show are more problematic for people of color? So again, how do you achieve your goal without increasing police encounters? Which studies show are more problematic for people of color?
Great question. We are really focused on automated enforcement. We work hand in hand with police with Arlington Police, and are just totally focused on automated enforcement from here. I know we are not doing any enforcement details, especially not tied to this program. And we have initiated speed cameras, which I think will be coming to Arlington probably early next year. And we've expanded the red light camera program. So we're really trying to reduce any type of interaction that the police have with people to do traffic enforcement. So that is our goal. And we are continuing to push forward on that because we know that is an absolutely critical issue that we need to advance.
All right, the next two questions, they're both in the chat, but I'll go ahead and read them. One's from Carolyn Kane, next is from our second VP. First question is, how much, if any, of these injuries and fatalities occurred on 395 or other non-county owned roads?
I don't know the exact number because we don't have the best location data for the hospital data, but it's not a huge percentage. Actually, we do get oftentimes those really larger scale crashes on the highways end up going to Innova or GW. And so the data that we have is from Virginia Hospital Center, which typically has the more local roads. And we're working on collaborating with the other hospitals to get a more complete data set. But right now, the only one that's willing to share with us has been Virginia Hospital Center. So that's
Great.
what we're working from.
Yeah, and there's a question, the second one is dealing with was the category of Black African-American disaggregated. There are several Black ethnic groups here in Arlington. And I also add on that outside of, Black groups, we're in Arab American History Month, right? I know a lot of Arab Americans, for whatever reasons, are noted as white. And there's a big conversation going on in that community right now about having their own designation, right? Middle Eastern, North African. There's a lot of writings on that documented by the census. But to the question at hand here, Latinos as well. Can you answer the second question here? You have any thoughts on that?
So we use the classifications that were provided by the Virginia Hospital Center, which was Black or African American. And we also looked at ethnicity separately, but there weren't as clearly defined disproportions in the ethnicity category. So that's why we reported solely on race.
All right. Well, thanks, Christine. What we'll do is please share the slide with us. We will give those names to you, and thank you for coming out tonight and presenting. Again, thank you on behalf of our members, and we look forward to working with you here soon. Again, I think you have a few names that want to participate in the focus group, okay?
Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Take
Have a
care.
great night.
All right, Rosa, Pastor Davis had to step away. I think she's gone for the night, but she sent a message to me. I'll spotlight.
I'm here.
Oh, you're back.
Yes.
Well, you trying to play old Matrix Jedi mind trick with me there, Pastor. All right, where you at? Let me see. Pastor Davis.
Good evening, everyone. Ms. Rosa and I are doing this together tonight.
Go ahead. All right.
On behalf of the Religious Affairs Committee, just an update of the things we've been doing. We provide a monthly update now of the NAACP activities and events to leaders of faith communities. And so right now we have 34 faith communities in Arlington that are staying in contact with us that way, and also working with the State Religious Affairs Committee. We've mentioned before about voter registration drives that we were hoping to start in March, but some of those communities, faith communities, did not reopen at that time. So we have 9 that are scheduled between May and September. If your faith community or one that you know is interested in having a voter registration drive, please email me or Ms. Rosa Dunkley, and it can happen in one of 2 ways. Either we can, or a member of the Religious Affairs Committee can be present that day, give a 5-minute spiel, and then have the supplies there, or we can simply provide the supplies for you and your faith community to be able to do it on your own on that particular day. Also, I had asked Mr. President to share this evening, the Arlington Coalition of Black Clergy is having a community-wide Juneteenth celebration on June 18th from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. And it will be held indoors and outdoors at Wilson Boulevard Christian Church. There'll be speakers on anti-racism, vendors, and fun activities for children and adults. If you're interested in being a vendor at this point, I will place the email for the Arlington Coalition of Black Clergy here for you as well. And of course, that group works in conjunction with the Religious Affairs Committee. Ms. Rosa, did I miss anything?
No, you didn't.
Okay, is that it from our Religious Affairs Committee?
Yes, thank you so much for the opportunity to serve this community.
Yeah, thank you. Pastor Davis, y'all have a flyer on that event coming up for the at Wilson Christian Church?
We should have it available by Friday. We're waiting for it now. Yes.
Okay, great. Thank you. And we'll get that shared. Thank you again for your presentation. For our previous, Christine, if you're still on the call, just looked at a number. We had 18 individuals registered who said they were interested in participating in the Vision Zero focus group. So that's a good number. And we'll get those names over to you. All right, next we're going to move, and we're right on schedule here. We're going to go with our Criminal Justice Committee, then our Education Committee, and we're going to close it out. So Heather, are you with us?
I am with you.
All right, floor is yours. Go ahead.
Good evening. Hi, everyone. So the Criminal Justice Committee, I think this is the first time that we've given, that I've given an update to the general membership meeting in a while. So want to let you know, we started off the year thinking that we were going to have a little bit of a quiet year. Then there was in early February, yet another in custody death at the Arlington County Detention Facility, which sent the committee, the executive committee and the Criminal Justice Committee into quick action to draft up a request for an investigation to the United States Department of Justice, the Special Investigations Unit, which is part of the Civil Rights Division. Their charge, that division's charge, is to investigate constitutional violations, allegations of constitutional violations of incarcerated persons in state, federal, and local jails. And we put together, the committee put together a detailed complaint that listed all of the summaries of the circumstances of the deaths in custody over the last 7 years, and that it the fact that all of that they were each one of the gentlemen was young. There were some substance abuse and mental health issues, and each of them, with the exception, I believe, of one, was pending hearing or pending trial on pretty minor charges, and some of them were had not actually even been charged yet, waiting for initial hearing, initial appearance before the court. And it has led us down a path, a two-track path. One, the complaint to the Department of Justice asking for an investigation of patterns and practices in the Arlington County Detention Facility, systemic issues that we think go beyond a single individual. We don't think it's person X or nurse practitioner Z. We think that it appears to be a systemic issue that needs to be addressed at a more core level than replacing a contract for medical care provided in the facility. We need to do more root cause kind of analysis to put an end to the really essentially a death sentence for some of the most vulnerable people in our community. Really inexcusable. These men were largely in their 40s and 50s, Black and brown men, and really there's no cause for it. And the frustrating part for our organization and for our committee and for our community is that we just don't have satisfactory answers over years of trying to get to them. So we are working with the U.S. Department. Well, we're waiting to hear from the U.S. Department of Justice. They've acknowledged receipt of the request for investigation, but it can take a little bit of time. The other track that we are continuing to pursue is their family. One of the families, Mr. Becton's family, is pursuing civil lawsuit on their own behalf. NAACP is not a party to that lawsuit, but obviously we have interest in making sure that he as an individual and others as a community get answers to that. We think that is to what happened to him. We think that is the beginning of helping to shine light on what is happening systemically. We will continue working locally with the sheriff, with the Commonwealth's Attorney's Office, with the PD, and with Arlington County Police Department to try to continue to foster better communication, to try to see how we as a community can come together and make this, make access to housing resources, make access to mental health resources, and have intervention that is something other than incarceration for vulnerable people in our community, so that this is not something that they end up as a patient, as an inmate, when what they should probably be is a patient. That is going to take something more than just communication. It's going to take probably some help from Virginia, from the state, and from our elected officials here in Arlington County as well, to prioritize funding to help keep people on a track that, vulnerable people on a track that doesn't lead to the jail. So we are working on those things. Sorry, did you want to say something?
No, go ahead. You can just wrap that. Go ahead, finish that
Nope,
thought.
that's all we have. We will be having our monthly meeting on Wednesday, the 27th, which I think is next Wednesday. And we welcome folks to join the committee. We have plenty to do.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair. A lot of good information there. And again, those cases with the detention facility and are still ongoing. I know since our last meeting that there has been a quality assurance position, I guess, that was open, and someone internally was hired to fill that position. That was made public. And again, I don't know all the details of what he or she is supposed to be doing as it relates to policy and what's going on there, but someone was hired. And I would hope that in the near future, we will have some more conversations here. Hopefully we'll have someone on in a meeting or two from the county, an elected official, to talk more about these cases, and perhaps different ways, different means that we can work together to ensure that adequate services are available, that we have a place where people don't end up trying to, go to the jail, whatever, to seek treatment. But there's many areas of concern as it relates to criminal justice. Before we go over to, and I have 3 minutes, before we go to our education committee to wrap us up tonight here, I do want to share 2 things with you. One, we have some events coming up. I think everyone should have received these already, but our housing committee, who briefed last month, asked me to share and pass on that we will be having a affirmatively further fair housing action, an event at noon on April 29th. If you received this document, you should be able to register here on the link below. And our political action committee briefed last month. We got our committees briefing every other month now, since there's so many. But before you come back, we're going to have, there's going to be a congressional primary candidate forum held on Thursday, May 12th. That will be before our next meeting. That is for Congressional District 8, where Congressman Don Beyer is the incumbent. And so that is an event that's going to be hosted by not only the Arlington branch, but the Alexandria branch, Fairfax County branch. So we'll have all the candidates. I think it's about 2 hours. Republicans, Democrats, Independents, everyone will be on this at this forum. You can register in advance. It will be moderated by Mr. Christopher Lewis out of Alexandria branch of the NAACP. Let me stop share. So more will be coming out. Our communications chair, Leah, has been busy at work, and I think the education committee may be also speaking to you shortly about another event that's also going to be going on, a series event where we're going to be, they'll tell you all about it. But that being said, I want to start right here on time and turn this over now to our education committee who's with us tonight to give their updates. Cherie and Simone.
Hi, thank you, JD. I'm going to share the screen. We don't have a lot of time to talk about everything we've been doing. So I'm just going to spend the next few minutes in the interest of time. It's almost 9, and just talk about what JD just mentioned. We are working on bringing to the community a series of not workshops, but an educational series on structural racism. It will be 4 Tuesdays in May. I'm thinking 5 because May is the 5th month, but 4 Tuesdays in May. So it will be Tuesday the 10th, the 17th, the 24th, 4th, and the 31st. And we are working on marketing that. We are partnering with Black Parents of Arlington, and the first session will be on the origins of race and racism. And it's going to be a very comprehensive curriculum. It will be from 7 to 9. It is free to the public. The second week will be the historical reproduction of racism. The third session will be on contemporary structural racism. And the fourth will be policy solutions. So we will wrap up with fourth. This will be, each series will build on the prior one. So we're going to set up registration and ask people to take the first one as a prerequisite. They'll be recorded. You will get the slides, you will get the recording, you will get an outline. This is like almost like a college seminar level that we are bringing to the community, and it will be presented by Io Magwood of Uprooting Inequity LLC. We feel that the time is ripe to bring to the community the truth of our histories from 1619 all the way to present day. If we don't know our history, then we are destined to repeat it. And we don't know where we're going if we don't know where we are coming from. And so we are pushing back against this governor and the ban on inclusive history. And we are going to bring this information to our community. We have seen that our community is hungry for this information, and we're going to encourage high school students, middle school students to also participate. And so that's what we've been working on these last couple of weeks, and look forward to that. And we will share more with you guys on what the Ed Committee is doing at another time. So be on the lookout. Thank you so much. Sharice, did you want to add anything quickly?
Yes, just very quickly, we are very excited about this this learning series, and we think that since here in Arlington we've started out, we have done a lot of work on having courageous conversations that dealt with individual bias and how we recognize it and how it functions in our society. This takes it into a deeper level, and this deepens and expands understanding of how racism functions both in our community here in Arlington and in our nation and across the world. So we are really hoping to have a very broad group of people to engage this. I think it's appropriate for law enforcement, for educators, for people who work in the courts. I think this is great, especially for children, as kids are probably now starting to ask more and more very tough questions about what they're seeing in the world. And I think a lot of parents, particularly white parents, may have some problems with explaining and being able to access some of like primary source materials to help kids to understand what's happening. So we are really hoping that everyone will come out and take advantage of this. These are courses that if you took them at George Mason or you took them at Howard, you would pay several $1,000s for each individual course. And this is something that we're putting on because we value education, and we value true history, and we value giving as broad-based an understanding of the evolution of our country as possible. So we really hope that you guys will come out. I don't think there's anything else that's going on. We had Dr. Ottley here. We work really closely with him, so we are very excited about the work that he's doing. And we don't really have much time to go into anything else. So maybe one day JD will give us like 30 minutes to actually talk to our members about what's going on in the Ed Committee. And until then, you guys can reach out to us through email if you want to learn more, or give us a call.
You know.
Oh, and one more thing. I just got a quick note that that asked me to clarify on the scholarship piece. Apparently, the scholarship committee received 40 applications last year, not 60. And in some years, we've had as few as 5. So the amount of scholarships that we received this year is in the range of normal for us, given that some years we don't have many, and last year we had 40. So yeah, so just to kind of clarify that what we got this year is in the range of normal for what we usually receive.
Yeah.
And that came from Jill.
Well, thanks. And also, if you want to learn more about any of our committees, I've always, we've extended the invitation for our members to join or try to at least join our committees, because that's where all the work gets done. And that's where you can learn a lot about the nuances and many things that are going on in those committees. So with that being said, thank you for your presentation. Are there any other questions? We look like we're going to end early here tonight. Any other questions? All right. If not, again, thank you. I think Joan Mahalit was here. Thank you, Joan, for being with us tonight. Great job. Pastor Nelson, thank you for being with us tonight, sir. I see you. You kind of snuck in here on us. You trying to join the Religious Affairs Committee?
Yeah, I'll talk with Dr. Davis about that.
All right. And Brenda Cox and everyone else for coming on. All right. Well, thank you, everyone. And this meeting is now adjourned.